What if I told you there's a civilization on this planet that never truly disappeared? Think about it. Empires like Rome, once powerful, now just ruins, ancient kingdoms, gone, remembered only in history books. But China, it didn't vanish. It didn't stay frozen in time either. It changed, adapted, rebuilt itself, over and over again for more than 4,000 years. Through war, through invasion, through collapse. So, how does a civilization survive that long without ever truly falling? This is the story of China. The beginning. Our story begins in a place both dangerous and life-giving. The Yellow River, known as China's sorrow because of its deadly floods. Yet it was here that early communities learned to survive, farm, and build. This wasn't easy land. It demanded resilience, and maybe that's where it all started. The Xia Dynasty is often called the first dynasty of China. Some historians debate whether it truly existed. But in Chinese tradition, it marks the beginning of organized rule. Leaders weren't just warriors anymore. They were rulers of a growing society. What matters isn't just whether Xia was real, it's what it represents, the birth of Chinese civilization, the first real power. Then history becomes clearer. The Shang Dynasty rises, and now we have evidence. Oracle bones, ancient inscriptions, bronze artifacts. For the first time, we can actually see early Chinese life. Kings ruled from fortified cities, armies protected territory, religion, rituals, and ancestor worship shaped daily life. The idea that changed everything. Next came the Zhou Dynasty, and they introduced something revolutionary, the mandate of heaven. It wasn't just about power, it was about legitimacy. Rulers were chosen by heaven, but only if they governed well. If they became corrupt, weak, or unjust, they could be overthrown, and it would be justified. This idea did something powerful. It created a cycle: rise, prosper, decline, replace. Over and over again, and suddenly, rebellion wasn't just rebellion. It could be seen as destiny. This belief would shape Chinese politics for thousands of years. Chaos and war. But beliefs alone couldn't hold the empire together. Over time, the Zhou kings lost control. Local rulers grew stronger. China fractured into competing states, and this was chaos, the Warring States period. A time of constant battle, cities fortified, armies expanded, strategies became more complex, more ruthless. This wasn't just war, it was survival. And in the middle of all this violence, great thinkers emerged. Philosophers like Confucius and Laozi tried to answer one question: how do you bring order to chaos? But while they debated ideas, one man chose a different path: force. The man who united China. Qin Shi Huang, a name that changed everything. He didn't just win wars, he ended them. By conquering every rival state, he unified China for the first time. One empire, one system, one ruler. He standardized writing so everyone could communicate, standardized currency so trade could grow, even standardized measurements. This was nation building on a massive scale. And then the Great Wall. Not just a wall, a symbol of protection and control, but unity came at a cost. His rule was absolute. Critics were silenced, books were burned, knowledge itself was controlled. Qin Shi Huang didn't just unify China, he reshaped it, but his empire didn't last long. The Golden Age. After Qin collapsed, chaos could have returned, but instead, China rose again. Stronger, the Han Dynasty. This was a golden age. Government became more organized. Education mattered. Merit, not just birth, began to play a role in leadership, and then came the Silk Road, a network connecting China to Central Asia, the Middle East, even Europe. Goods flowed: silk, spices, ideas. China wasn't isolated anymore. It was part of a global system. This era helped define what it meant to be Chinese. So much so that even today, the majority ethnic group calls itself Han. Innovation that changed the world. As centuries passed, dynasties changed, but progress didn't stop. In fact, it accelerated. China became a center of innovation. Gunpowder, originally for fireworks, later used in warfare. The compass, making long-distance navigation possible. Printing, allowing knowledge to spread faster than ever before. Think about that. These weren't small inventions, they reshaped the world. Long before Europe's industrial rise, China was already pushing technological boundaries. Conquered, but not destroyed. Then came one of the greatest threats in history, the Mongols. Masters of speed and warfare, they swept across Asia and conquered China. The Yuan dynasty was established under Kublai Khan. For the first time, China was ruled by foreigners. It could have been the end, but it wasn't, because something unexpected happened. The conquerors adapted to China. They used its systems, its culture, its administration. Instead of China disappearing, it absorbed them. That's the pattern. Not destruction, transformation. Collapse to superpower. The Ming Dynasty restored native rule. Strength returned. Trade expanded. Cities flourished. Then came the Qing, the last dynasty, powerful at first, but the world was changing. Europe industrialized, new weapons, new ambitions. China struggled to keep up. Conflicts erupted, opium wars, internal rebellions, pressure from all sides, and eventually, a system that lasted over 2,000 years collapsed. In 1912, China's imperial era ended. But the story didn't. It entered chaos, revolution, civil war, and invasion. Devastation on a massive scale, yet China endured. In 1949, a new state emerged under Mao Zedong. Radical change followed, some progress, some suffering, but once again, China adapted. Reforms opened the economy, cities surged, industry boomed, and within decades, China rose into a global superpower. Not because it avoided collapse, but because it survived it, again and again.